What is happening, YouTube? Cowboy here, and today we are taking a look at the Angel of Hope, and that is Auriel. So obviously we're a little bit late to the party on getting this guide out for you guys. For those that don't know, I was actually on vacation all last week when she was released. First vacation I've had in 4 years, so a very, very much needed break, getting away from everything. But either way, back on task, let's talk about the Angel of Hope. So Auriel is part of the Angelic Council from Diablo 3, a really cool character design, and I feel that they really did a good job of giving her kind of an individualistic feel as a support in Heroes of the Storm. You know, a lot of supports you kind of see a little bit of overlap, but she's really, really unique in her healing mechanic, and all in all it makes her a very aggressive support, which is something I like, because generally I don't play support, so having a very aggressive playstyle is something that I like getting behind. But either way, we're going to go through our talent build, go into the abilities and our talent choices and why, and of course we'll have a separate video which will be a match showcase. So we are going to have Increasing Clarity, Majestic Span, Empathetic Link, Crystal Aegis, Blinding Flash. At 16 you can pick whichever you want. It really is match dependent. And at 20, Shield of Hope. So to go into our abilities, first up we have Sacred Sweep. As you can see, we sweep our cloths out in front of us, and we will do damage to any enemies hit and double that damage to enemies in the middle. So you can see how we have 175 and then a 351 that popped up there. Basically, any enemies that are caught in that center reticle you see will take extra damage. Just to show it again here, you can see how we did 175 to both, but we had the extra 351 pop up on the wall there. Now our healing is done through Ray of Heaven, 4-second cooldown, pretty good AoE. You can just Alt W to cast it directly on top of yourself, and really good for healing in a team fight, just because it is such a short cooldown, and as long as you're replenishing your energy, you can just keep casting this baby for days. Moving on to our third ability, Detainment Strike. This is going to knock an enemy back, and if they hit terrain or a building or anything of that nature, it'll stun them. So as you can see, that just knocks them away, but when we hit that, we get the chains that go up on him, and he is now stunned for our team to follow up on and get an attack and hopefully a kill. And then lastly, our passive, which is Bestow Hope. So the way Auriel generates her energy, as you can see, is 40% of the damage we deal to heroes and 8% to non-heroes is stored as energy. So basically, doing damage allows us to heal. As you can see, you got a big chunk right there. But with Empathetic Link, we can put that on a hero, and as long as they remain within this blue circle you see, we have the cast circle, and then we have this blue circle. If we go out of it, the crown will disappear. If we go back in, it'll reappear. But as long as they're doing damage, that also builds energy, which makes her a very good babysitter hero, because you can group her up with a aggressive frontline, something like a Thrall, for example, or a Butcher. And as long as they keep doing damage, and you're up there doing damage with them, you're just generating tons and tons of energy to heal with, which is fantastic. And as you can see, it can generate up pretty fast here. One good Sacred Strike, and that was almost a third of my energy bar. And obviously this is just against one hero. As you guys will see in the match, you're hitting multiple heroes with it. You're getting up full bars of energy to drop heals out with. So at this point, let's go into the talent picks, what we pick and why. So our very first ability is going to be Increasing Clarity. And what that makes it is so every time we end up connecting with a hero in the center, that damage is going to increase. Eventually the bonus goes up to an extra 120 damage. Now the main reason for this is more damage is going to be faster energy charging for us. In comparison to other things, the cast speed is alright, but especially when you pick up the span, it's so big that you don't really need the cast speed. Righteous Assault, while you can get the cooldown reduced by this, fact of the matter is that extra damage is going to end up outweighing it, especially because that extra damage, it's a very easy reward to accomplish, and that's something that's going to always be active. Whether you're clearing lanes, doing mercs, hitting buildings, that extra damage will be there, whereas Righteous Assault is only going to be helpful when you're in a team fight. And on top of that, it's only going to be 4 seconds. Searing a Light, you don't know. Use this to heal. If an enemy happens to be in the area, that's great, but 30% of the energy isn't really that much. At level 20, that would be maybe 300 damage, which, 300 isn't really huge. Moving on to 4, Sacred Sweep Radius. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Right now, we're barely able to hit Arthas. Now, look at that, way past him. So just having that extra bit really helps to pop heroes off, especially when you're trying to complete your quest. Heavy burden can be kind of useful, but if you're playing well, you don't really need that. Your team should be able to kill something as soon as it gets hit with the stun. Increase damage when heroes are stunned. Honestly, not a giant fan of this, just a quest that I can't really get behind. You know, 200 damage on the stun. Like, my job is to stun them, and then my team finishes them off. I'm not really the one doing the killing. Moving on to 7, though, Empathetic Link. Pretty straightforward here. It's not that the other choices are bad. You know, reducing the cooldown, honestly, you're probably not going to be building up energy within 2 seconds that often. So 4-second cooldown is fine. Regen globes reduce. Kind of situational, so, you know, not all that powerful. Energizing Chord. You know, basic attacks 100%. Thing is, we're not a basic attacker. Like, yeah, we can get in and do some basic attacks. We're ranged. But fact of the matter is, our big energy stores are going to come from hitting those whips and from our allies doing damage. So Empathetic Link makes it so that you can just put this on a tank or a nice front line or something like a Thrall or Butcher or even an Illidan, and that'll help you get your energy up very, very fast, especially when it's on a tank. So between the two ultimates, Resurrect and Crystal Aegis is the clear winner in my book. And the reason for this is when a hero dies, you need to channel Resurrect. So you have a 3-second channel where something can interrupt you. And on top of that, if you use this poorly and you end up putting it on something that, you know, since it resurrects them at their location, I mean, I've seen people pop Resurrects and then we just re-kill the hero as they res. Whereas Crystal Aegis, 1, it's on 60 seconds versus the 90 seconds, and 2, you can use this because of the stasis effect to lock out a ton of different abilities and in fact save people from certain death. So let's say there's a Pyroblast coming at my boy Malfurion here. Just boom, Crystal Aegis, and a big heal the second he gets out of that. And that's really good for saving somebody when they're about to die. With a good use, you can really use that to turn some team fights around. Moving on to 13. Now, I actually had a... I was really kind of torn between Repelling Strike and Blinding Flash here. Converging Force, I mean, that slight towards the center isn't really strong enough to justify taking this because it doesn't push them enough. Like, if they're not in the center, you're not going to get that damage to begin with. That little push isn't going to really make a difference. I mean, it does, but only in, like we'll say, right there. Right where that little archer is. That would push him into the center for the extra damage. But it's such a small window, I don't feel it's worth it. Detainment Strike hits all enemies in a line, way too situational. Now, Repelling Strike, 35% farther, does let you secure stuns a lot easier. But the thing that makes Blinding Flash so powerful is not only do you have a huge blind on heroes, you can even do this on waves. Look at that. So all these dudes are blinded right now. They're just blinded. They're doing no damage to the wave. Look at that. No, archers, you're useless. And Arthas can't fight back. And especially when stuff's coming at you, like it's just a really nice blind. You know, we are looking at a blind that's going to last for 4 seconds on an 8-second cooldown. I mean, and it could be even more brutal. If you were to take Righteous Assault, you could basically perma-blind heroes, assuming you can hit them constantly. But even then, it's still just huge with where it's at. So moving on to 16. Now, this is really going to be game dependent. There's no one choice fits all here. Will of Heaven, 20% attack speed, so that's great with certain heroes. If I have stuff like a Raynor, Artanis is actually a really good combo to use that with, as we found out during some practice games with her. Obviously the attack speed, and then on top of that, because of Empathetic Link, you're just gaining energy so fast from them. Ability power, great if you're putting it on a Gul'Dan or Li-Ming. I actually feel Gul'Dan has probably some of the best synergy in the game with Auriel because of the fact that you know, he can replenish his own mana for life, and then as long as he's doing damage, you keep storing up energy to keep him healed. So a really, really nice perpetual relationship between the two of them that make it so they never have to leave lane. Now, obviously, if that's not important to you, Reservoir of Hope is actually pretty awesome. Increasing the maximum amount of energy directly impacts how much you can end up healing. So just for example here, let me just get under here and just tank some shots here. So right now, 1152. Okay, now I'm going to pick Reservoir of Hope. I'm going to let that build up just to show you how absurd this can get. I need you to hit me, towers. Hit Auriel. So as you can see, each time our energy is going up by 75. So what this really means is that we can get this up to just absurd levels. Now, obviously, You know, you need to fill that energy every time for this quest. But the point is, towards the end of the game, you are getting absolutely absurd heals with this talent. Look at that. 18,000. Let's see how high we can get this. Let's go. Let's just keep going. You can. I mean, my point is, I mean, and given it's a late talent, so the quest kind of comes in late. But fact is, you can build this up to, you know, 3,000 healing. An instant 3,000. Think about that. Just think about that for a second. We now have a 3,000. Watch this. Let me toggle. I'm gonna toggle forts. Let me refresh the forts. A 3,000 heal on a 4-second cooldown. How absurd is that? I mean, given the chances of you actually getting it that high is rather low. But fact is that you can have that much healing on a 4-second cooldown. That's freaking absurd. Now I'm stuck. I need to get out. And anyway, for our last talent, because I'm going to probably end up dying in here anyway, it's going to be Shield of Hope. Now, the reason we're going to take Shield of Hope, Diamond Resolve, the 50% damage reduction, yeah, that's nice, but fact is you should be healing them the second they come out of it. Whereas Shield of Hope, getting them a shield for 50% of their missing health is really nice. On top of that, it's a nice AoE around you. So right when things look hectic in the team fight, boom, pop that, and then everyone has a nice shield that's going to buffer them while you're healing. Also, another really nice thing to do, what I like to do is if somebody's about to die, I hit him with both. So if they're on like a fraction of health, you know, pop the Aegis. The second they come out of it, Shield of Hope, they're going to get a ton of health from that. And then on top of that, you're going to drop your Ray of Heaven, healing them on up. All in all, very nice combo to save lives. So either way, guys, that is Auriel, the Archangel of Hope. Definitely a really, really fun support. I mean, I know I say that like, oh, this is my new favorite hero with like every hero that comes out. And I won't say Auriel's my new favorite hero, but in terms of support, she's easily my favorite support. You know, just the aggressive playstyle of her, the fact that you very much benefit from roaming around with another hero. She's built to hunt down and look for kills. She has that stun, which I just missed terribly. But I mean, you know, like some of the better combinations I found, like I said, Gul'Dan works really good. Artanis works really well. Butcher works really well. You know, there's a bunch of heroes you can go with. Like even I can stun him against his own building here. Well, he died instead, but yeah, you can stun people into their own buildings. Basically, anything that's a structure that you can't pass through, you can stun. So, bad Arthas. Just perma-stun them. Now, obviously, you can't just do this. This isn't try mode, but fact is, it's a really cool ability. Really nice animation on it. Looks clean, too. But either way, guys, that is going to be it for the Auriel guide. Just to go into some other choices here. Lightspeed, if you do take Resurrect, you're going to want that. But in general, I wouldn't take Resurrect. Angelic Flight, very similar to Falstadd's Flight, except on a 45-second cooldown. I mean, unless there's a map where you absolutely need to be able to split between huge amounts of mobility, not really worth it in comparison to Shield of Hope. So that is it for Auriel. Definitely a fun hero. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the match. I actually just finished recording a match with Illuminati, but after the fact, I noticed that the volume was a little bit low, so I'm going to go through and watch that again and see how I feel about it. May record a new match, but it was a really nice one on Towers of Doom, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming on by. Hope you enjoyed the first part of the Auriel guide, and we will catch you next time with the next hero.